Hi, welcome back to Reading with Manny. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Manny, I'm a teacher and I like to talk about books. Today's video is a wrap-up of all the books I read between October and December 2021. I have to apologize for all the shakiness that you're going to see. I recorded this on a very unstable surface and I only realized when I started editing. I tried fixing it, but I don't know if it worked. Oh well. So, the first book today is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I like the book, but I'm not sure I enjoyed reading it. It kind of made me feel sad. It's contemporary fiction which follows two teenagers from their early sort of hidden relationship back in high school all the way through university and their various comings and goings. The book is ultimately about how one person or one relationship can shape your personality and life. Next is one of my favorites from this year, The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. It's about an orphanage for magical children, their caretaker, and the government caseworkers sent there to investigate the whole thing. Let me just say, I loved all the characters and how wholesome the whole book is. I'll leave my reading vlog linked in the description and in the cards above in case you want to hear me ramble more about it, because I could go on. Then I read The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. This book had been so hyped up by the time I got to it that halfway through I was kinda disappointed, but it definitely pulled through with that ending. This is a self-published book about something called the Alexandrian Society, the caretakers of the legendary Library of Alexandria, and the 6 new candidates hoping to join. Oh, and there's magic. I loved how complex the characters are and all their interactions, and I can't wait for the next one in this series. Next is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El Motar and Max Gladstone. I do hope I said that name right. This is a novella about two factions fighting through time in order to secure their existence in the present, so time traveling, and two enemy operatives who start a relationship through letters. The writing in this is so lyrical and the whole thing is just beautiful, so go read it if you haven't. To finish October, we have Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read this after being hounded by my sister to read it, and it didn't disappoint. It's about a fictional rock band from the 70s, heavily inspired by the story of Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac, a story I'm obsessed with. It deals with addiction, the pressures of fame, how women were treated in the industry back then. I don't know, it's just an amazing read. The book is written in interview format, which makes it super fast-paced and quick to read. There's a great ending as well, and I definitely recommend it. I vlogged my reading in November, so you can check out those videos for more thoughts on the next 4 books. First up is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. This is historical fiction with a touch of magic. It's set in England in the 19th century, more specifically the Napoleonic Wars, which I love. It's about a magician and his apprentice and how their different approaches to bring magic back to England lead to an interesting rivalry. There's also an amazing cast of characters and subplots and footnotes. I love footnotes. It's 1,000 pages long and I loved every second of reading it. Then we have The Shape of Darkness by Lara Purcell. It's also set in the 19th century and we follow Agnes, a silhouette artist trying to support her mother and nephew whose clients keep being murdered. We also follow Pearl, a little girl who is a medium and who Agnes approaches hoping to figure out who the killer is. The twist is amazing. Still thinking about this book and the themes it explores, especially the treatment of women in the 19th century and what they had to do to survive if they were not married or they were orphans or they had to take care of their families. Again, more on this in my vlog. Next is The Last House on Needless Street by Katrina Ward. I don't know what to say about this book. It's the story of a serial killer and yet it isn't. It's definitely one of the weirdest books I've ever read. I can't say much more without spoiling things, so yeah. Suffice to say, this isn't what you think it is. Another one I'm still thinking about. Please go read it, but be aware of descriptions of abuse both of children and animals. Finally, in November, we have Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one is set, well, in Malibu in the 1980s. It tells the story of 4 siblings, their parents, and one legendary party that ends with the house burned to the ground. It jumps between POVs and goes back and forth in time until you get the whole story. I loved the relationship between the siblings. I even cried. The ending is super satisfying too. Okay, last month I read 6 books in December for a grand total of 50 in the year. Yay me! First up, Summer Sons by Lee Mandello. It's about a young man whose best friend commits suicide after acting all mysterious for a few months. He inherits his house, a housemate, a group of friends of questionable repute, and a mystery. What happened to his friend? It's super dark, which I really enjoyed. I felt it dragged on for a while and there's too much card talk for me, but all in all, a great read. It has amazing LGBTQ+ rep as well. Then I finally got my hands on The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. It's a murder mystery set in a retirement community in England, being investigated by the 4 members of the Thursday Murder Club, that is, 4 old retired people. They are surprisingly highly resourceful though, and super lovable. I really enjoyed both the mystery and how funny this book is. Really a killer combination. And the sequel, The Man Who Died Twice, was also brilliant. I couldn't wait to read it after I finished the first one. New mystery, new murder, same lovable characters. We get more background on some of them and loads of character development without losing any of the previous charm and wit. Can't wait for the next installment. This series was truly like a palate cleanser for me after all the dark books I'd been reading before. This was super wholesome compared. And then we get to the crown jewel of Taylor Jenkins Reid books, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I'd been putting off reading this book because it's so hyped up, but let me tell you, the hype is real. It's the story of Evelyn Hugo, a famous actress with a career spanning decades, and the world's fascination with her and her 7 husbands. She tells her story to a young reporter who will get more than she bargained for when the story is complete. I can't really say much more than that. I started thinking halfway through this book that Evelyn Hugo was a real person, like it's that good. Not that deep, but highly entertaining. Almost done. Next up is The Devil and the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. More historical fiction, on a boat, a mystery, a detective duo, and an incredible cast of characters, all with motivation to summon a demon that may or may not exist. What more could I want? This book was so much fun. It kind of dragged on a bit at some points too, but all in all, I really enjoyed it. I wanted more actually. Like the ending was super satisfying, but I kind of wanted more from, like I want a sequel, I don't know. And finally, Far From the Light of Heaven by Tate Thompson. It has an amazing premise, but it was poorly executed in my opinion. It's about an astronaut tasked with taking a spaceship full of colonists to a planet 10 years away, and when she wakes up at the end of the journey, she finds that the AI captain has been incapacitated and there's a bunch of passengers that are dead. I think that the reveal of this highly intriguing murder mystery in space was done in the least interesting way possible. Like, it was okay, but it felt all over the place at some points, and I didn't really like the ending, so yeah. So, that's it for this video. Let me know what you think of these books if you read them. And in case you haven't, I left the links to all these books in the description below so you can find more information about them. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more book ramblings, if you want, of course. Bye! Happy reading!